Katarina was born into one of the most prestigious and feared families in Noxus, the Dukuto family. Her father, the highly respected general, was a leading figure in Noxian military affairs. From an early age, Katarina was taught to fight, to kill, and to survive in a world where power was everything. She was not just trained to be a weapon, but to be the sharpest tool in Noxus's arsenal. Her mother, a strong and fiercely independent woman, emphasized Katarina's need to be self-reliant. While other Noxian children were taught diplomacy and the importance of alliances, Katarina was molded into an instrument of war, ruthless, efficient, and calculating. As a child, Katarina's brilliance in combat was evident. She could wield knives as though they were extensions of herself, her movements graceful and lethal. Her father saw potential in her, though he also sought to test her devotion to the Noxian ideals of strength and dominance. But Katarina wasn't content with simply being an heir to the family legacy. She was determined to carve her own path, separate from her family's shadow. The assassin's life was one of secrecy, subterfuge, and cold-bloodedness. Katarina wanted to be more than just an instrument of her family's power. She wanted to shape Noxus itself through her actions. Katarina's rise to prominence within the Noxian military came with a price. A pivotal moment in her life occurred during a mission that would change the course of her existence. She was sent to assassinate a high-ranking officer from the rival city-state of Ionia, a task that seemed straightforward. However, things quickly spiraled out of control. During the mission, she was ambushed. Betrayed by someone within her own ranks, Katarina was left for dead in a brutal trap. Surviving by sheer willpower, she crawled from the wreckage of what had been a simple mission, her body broken and her soul filled with a burning desire for vengeance. She was no longer just an assassin, she became a survivor, and in that survival, she found her true calling. Katarina was going to be a force to be reckoned with, not just a pawn in Noxian schemes. When she returned to Noxus, she was forever changed. She no longer sought approval from her father, her family, or even Noxus itself. The betrayal had forged her into something darker, something more dangerous. She would be the one who would define the rules of this brutal game of politics and war. No one would ever underestimate Katarina again. Having earned the moniker the Sinister Blade, Katarina's name became synonymous with death. She became a figure feared not only in Noxus, but across Runeterra. Whether on the battlefield or in the shadows, Katarina's knives always struck swiftly, silently, and without mercy. She made her reputation by eliminating political opponents, rivals within the Noxian hierarchy, and even those who sought to betray her. Her father, though proud of his daughter's deadly efficiency, saw the changes in her and worried. Katarina was no longer the child he had raised. She was a weapon driven by vengeance and personal ambition. He knew the day would come when she would challenge him, and that day came sooner than he expected. Katarina's ultimate break from her father came after an incident in which she was forced to eliminate a Noxian officer who had wronged her. Her father had ordered her to carry out the mission under the guise of upholding Noxian law, but for Katarina it was personal. The officer had disrespected her, and in her eyes, no amount of military protocol could justify such an insult. In the aftermath of the mission, she confronted her father, declaring that she no longer served Noxus, nor did she follow anyone's commands but her own. Her father's disappointment was palpable, but Katarina was resolute. From that moment on, Katarina became an independent agent. While still loyal to Noxus in her heart, she would no longer be tied down by their politics. She would do what she needed to do to survive and to thrive. Katarina's role in Noxus may have shifted, but her thirst for power and vengeance remained undiminished. She continued to take on high-profile assignments, working as a mercenary, using her skills for the highest bidder. This earned her a reputation far beyond the borders of Noxus, one that would ultimately bring her into conflict with some of Runeterra's most powerful figures. One such conflict came when Katarina found herself face to face with a man she would come to view as both an enemy and a potential ally, Swain, the leader of Noxus. A battle of wills unfolded between the two, with Swain using his cunning and manipulation to lure Katarina into his plans, while Katarina resisted the notion of anyone controlling her destiny. Their clash was inevitable, but Swain, with his mind games and deep political influence, proved a more formidable adversary than Katarina had anticipated. Although Katarina remained deeply independent, she recognized the need for a certain level of partnership in order to achieve her ambitions. Her interactions with Swain would continue to evolve, sometimes aligning with his plans, and at other times directly opposing him. But one thing was clear: Katarina would never bow to anyone again. As time passed, Katarina's story became one of legend. She was no longer merely an assassin for hire, but a figure of myth, a symbol of vengeance and power. Whether dealing with political intrigue, betrayal, or war, Katarina remained a force that no one could ignore. Her knives were never far from her hands, and her enemies learned to fear the sound of her footsteps before the inevitable, final strike. Yet Katarina still sought something more. She realized that vengeance alone would not bring her the satisfaction she craved. As the battles raged on and her enemies fell, Katarina began to wonder, what was the true purpose of her existence? Was it merely to be the instrument of death, or could she carve a new destiny for herself? In a moment of reflection, Katarina pondered whether there was a way to take control of the forces that sought to manipulate her. Perhaps she could become more than just a blade. Perhaps she could be the hand that shapes the future of Noxus itself. But in doing so, Katarina would have to confront her own demons and decide what kind of leader, if any, she would become. What do you think about Katarina's path from assassin to legend, and which champion from Runeterra would you like us to explore next? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.